Surprise. Surprise, surprise,
Mitch,
surprise.
Mitch, hold up, no. Mitch doesn't make trades, right? That's what I was told.
Kazi, are you going to see? Are you going to at least say hello to the people before we get into our sarcasm? Are you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, what's up, y'all? So anyway, under construction, we had to do we weren't able to do a show Sunday. We weren't able to do one last night, but we weren't going to do one tonight. But I mean, we have to.
We had to, man. I know, man. We were both busy dudes outside of this show, man. Like I really wanted to record last night. We couldn't go another night, man. We couldn't let another night pass without talking about all this stuff that happened, man.
Especially the news from today, concerning the Charlotte Hornets. So let's let's
dive right into it, bro.
Let's just so. The big news, a day after maybe the Hornets' best win of the season, which we'll talk about in a bit, the Hornets made a move.
They traded.
They did a very Charlotte Hornets thing, and they traded one of their best players in Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier was sent packing to the Miami Heat for Kyle Lowry and a lottery protected 2027 first round pick that the Hornets have the option of pushing back to 2028, in which it would be unprotected.
Right.
That's unexpected. Now, we all expected Terry Rozier to get traded at some point right for the trade deadline. And given that Terry Rozier's trade value was as high as it's ever been, and as high as it was ever going to be probably, the actual move, the trade of Terry Rozier itself doesn't surprise me.
Right.
But doesn't it feel like we got fleeced on this one? Like, if you're Miami, you're like, woo, yes. If you're Terry Rozier, you're like, woo, yes. But if you're the Charlotte Hornets, you're like...
It's kind of blah. It's very blah, right?
Right, yeah.
All right. So, Kaza, let me confess something to you, man. I am about to sound like I'm all over the place. You know why? Because I feel all over the place about this trade. Let's talk about the negative of this trade. If there's one thing I hate about this trade is making the Miami Heat better. I cannot stand when bad teams make good teams better. I get it.
Right, yeah.
I get you're trying to have some foresight for the future and get asses. Like, I get it. But why? The optics of making your quote unquote, I'm not going to say rival, but division.
They're in the same division, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Division foe better is bad optics. Okay. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, we couldn't have got a little more for that. Like, we couldn't have got one of their young guys. You know, we couldn't have got maybe even a second round pick or another, protected first round pick. It's like I'm kind of thinking, like, is that all we're gonna get? Plus a Kyle Lowry who ain't gonna see a minute with the Hornets. Hornets fans, just don't. I hope y'all are not expecting Kyle Lowry to suit up in the Hornets uniform, because that ain't happening. All right. So that buyout is coming, or that trade is coming. Excuse me.
Well, the Hornets did say that they're not looking to buy out Kyle Lowry's contract, because a buyout it only helps the player. It does nothing for the team, right?
It does nothing for the team, right?
Right. You lose, like, literally losing money, right, by buying out a contract. So they want to move him. They're trying to trade him, and they said that he'll definitely be gone by the trade deadline, but they're willing to wait till that time. Whether or not he actually suits up is anyone's guess. But as you're saying,
highly doubt it. So to continue with the negative, man, again, I just wish we would have gotten more of a return, being that, like you mentioned, Terry's trade value is as high as it's going to get. You know, he's 29 years old. He's right in the dead of his prime. You understand? So it's not like he's gonna get like any better at this point in his career. Now, on the positive side of this trade, okay, we slammed this franchise for not having foresight, right? Don't we rake this franchise over the coals for not having any foresight? The fans rake Mitch over the coals for not making any moves and not doing any trades, blah blah blah. Now, this first round pick, as unexciting as it sounds, it's a first round pick. Terry Rozier himself was a mid first round pick. So to potentially get an early or a lottery pick, you can't be too mad at that, even if it is 3 years away. You understand what I'm saying? Now, what a lot of fans are not mentioning here is this new CBA that we mentioned a couple of months ago. This is not the only type of trade you're going to see around the NBA, because what NBA fans have to realize is that you're going to start seeing a lot of these teams trying to cut salary as much as they can this next 2 or 3 seasons with this new collective bargaining agreement, because it's going to make it even harder to manage the salary cap. So you're not going to have 3 and 4 guys having $30-40 million contracts on the same team. So at least give the Hornets some foresight to say, look, we're probably not going to keep Terry in the long run anyway. This season is a wash. Let's go ahead and collect while we can. Another disappointing thing, they pretty much punted on this season, which I guess you can't blame them, because I don't know how they're going to win games this season anymore, but it probably doesn't matter. Not like we're going to play in a playoff game anyway. But like I said, I'm all over the place. I'm just glad the Hornets have some type of foresight into the future at this point.
We haven't had enough time to really process the trade, right? My initial reactions is the same as most people, that we maybe could have got more than for Terry Rozier, but the thing is the market is what the market is.
No doubt.
I don't think any team, there are a lot of teams that wanted Terry Rozier, but what are you really willing to give up for Terry Rozier, who a lot of people will say, well, he was a good player on a bad team? You know, what are you really willing to give? I mean, really getting a first round pick for 29-year-old, guard
it's not bad when you say it out loud, right?
Yeah, it's like no one was like, man, we can get a first for Terry. Nobody was saying that. It was like, we can get a second and maybe like, some young core piece or whatever. No, we got a first round pick. Now the problem is that pick is not for 3 years, and in 3 years is lottery protected. And if we decide to roll it over to the 4th year, then it's not lottery protected. And someone in the Hornets group actually had a good point. Can you believe it? Someone said, would you rather have that pick, a first round pick from the Heat, with prime Jimmy Butler, or end of his career Jimmy Butler? Which is a good point. How good do we really think the Miami Heat are going to be in 2027, 2028, if Jimmy Butler's even still there at that point? They're probably not going to be very good. They're barely an 8 seed now. The addition of Terry Rozier is going to, I think, put them in the mix with some of the top teams in the East. But, I mean, how good do we really expect them to be at the time that first-round pick comes around? Yeah. If, let's say, the Miami Heat are terrible in 2028 and it's a lottery pick, then, boy, Mitch is going to look like a genius, isn't he?
He's going to look like it. Right.
Imagine. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, man, relatively speaking, man, we have like a long way to go to see how it pans out, relatively speaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Imagine in 4 years, we've got a decent core of LaMelo, Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller will be certainly entering his prime at that point. Nick Smith Jr., Mark Williams, Miles Bridges. Oh, and we got a lottery pick.
Yeah.
How many teams would kill to be in that position? Right. So I think that's what they were going for there. The market was, they were probably getting all kinds of really crap offers for Terry Rozier. Yep. Like, man, we'll give you a second and this guy on the end of the bench.
Some random overpaid guy that we don't
like. We don't like that. And then he's like, "We'll tell you what, we'll give you a first. It's just 3-4 years from now." Okay, all right,
cool.
So, now. JG brings me a question. When was the last time the Heat had a team that wasn't in the mix for the playoffs? Well, you got to think. They had LeBron James. He left. They were shit. And then they got Jimmy Butler. And he made all the difference. And let's not forget, the Miami Heat were a play-in team last season with Jimmy Butler. They had to, in fact, they weren't just a play-in team. They were the last play-in team. They had to win 2 playing games.
Yeah, they were 1 game away from being at home with
at
us.
Home, right.
Yeah.
So I like those odds in 2027, 2028. And let's say that they're playing off team. I mean, 2 first-round picks at any point is good. I guess. So my question is, because I was like, man, we could have got more than Terry. But then I thought, what could we have gotten? From who?
Right. I'm going to tell you a pertinent thing that we're not mentioning enough is the salary cap space that this is going to create. When it is all said and done, kind of considering what may or may not happen with Kyle Lowry, we don't know yet. But just for argument's sake, let's just say we have a salary that's kind of equal to Gordon Hayward's or Terry Rozier's for that matter. We're talking $50-60 million in cap space, man.
You know what that says to me? Miles Bridges is about to get paid. That's what that says to me.
Exactly. And not only is Miles Bridges going to get paid, but Brandon Miller in like 2 or 3 years is like, I'm next. You understand what I'm saying? So again, man, we cannot rake this franchise over the coals for lack of foresight when this trade, and not to mention it from as far as Adrian Wojnarowski is concerned, the Hornets are not done dealing. So
we don't know what they might. Yeah, there are a lot of. In fact, the New York Knicks have been placed in the conversation because Tom Thibodeau is really high on Kyle Lowry, like really high, and
he's this kind of guy.
Oh yeah,
he's a Thibodeau kind of guy. Yeah,
and the rumor was that the Knicks were trying to get a package together with Evan Fournier to try and get Kyle Lowry, but the salary is the issue. The salaries have to be within a certain range, and you couldn't get it to match up. So the prevailing thought is that a lot of teams will simply wait until a possible buyout if the Hornets don't move him on the trade deadline and then pick up Kyle Lowry then. But I think they'll be able to move him. I think they'll just practically give him away, possibly for more assets. And to me, if you move Kyle Lowry even for like a second, you've won that trade. Like, well, not won it, but everyone's happy, right?
Right.
You did Terry Rozier solid. You sent him to a contender. You did Miami a solid. Now they've got a key piece, and you've acquired capital for your core that you're obviously going to build around of LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. So, and
Kaza, let me say this real quick. I'm not sure if Archie Barrier is watching or not, but I'm going to steal your point if you are watching, because one of our listeners and fans made an excellent point on the post, man. This is kind of akin to when Steph Curry played with Monte Ellis. Remember that?
Boy, yeah.
Remember that? And remember how much of a mess that kind of was, right?
Yeah, Monte Ellis publicly said he couldn't play with Steph Curry.
Right. Yeah. And remember how Steph Curry kind of went to the stratosphere after Monte Ellis left? I'm not saying it's exactly the same. Let me be very clear about that. However, I think...
What if Nick Smith Jr. is our Klay Thompson?
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes there is such a thing as addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
Because what this could possibly open the door for. Now Brandon Miller, it has to grow up. LaMelo Ball, to a certain extent, even though LaMelo's kind of ascending other than the injury stuff going on, LaMelo's ascending. Brandon Miller's gonna have a bigger role. Nick Smith Jr. is presumably going to have a bigger role. So on the positive side, now your young pieces are not looking over their shoulder. Now it's their turn to make those big four-quarter baskets.
Absolutely. This was also like one of those Mason Plumlee moves. Remember last season, we traded Plumlee just to start Mark Williams. We practically gave Mason Plumlee away, and boy, we could actually use Mason Plumlee right now. What you doing, Plum Dog? But yeah, that's one of these moves. We knew that our future was not with Terry, and Nick Smith Jr. has been playing really well with the limited time, and imagine how much better he's going to get with more time, which he will have. And in fact, I think Clifford should put him in the starting lineup. What do you got to lose at this point? It's already clear that the front office has punted on the season. So you might as well run LaMelo Ball, Nick Smith Jr., and Brandon Miller, and let the fans have some fun watching those guys, play together and lose. So,
Absolutely.
so I think in hindsight, we're going to look back on this trade and be okay with it. It just kind of stings right now because we all love Terry Rozier. And, you just gave up a 23, almost 24 point per game score and got nothing immediate.
Right.
Like this doesn't make the Hornets immediately better.
No, let's keep it a buck. It makes us worse this season.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like we're alluding to, it's not about this season.
But, and is that a bad thing? Is another? Although I don't feel there's anyone in the lottery for the Hornets to shoot for. Another lottery pick ain't a bad thing. And you know how I feel about lottery picks. Trade them.
Hey, look, it's another asset at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. So. Imagine this. You got a future first, and let's say you flip Kyle Lowry for a second, and then you got a lottery pick this year.
Right.
You could go out and get damn near anybody you want on the trade block.
That's a good package right there.
Yeah. Two first and a second. You could get I'm just throwing names out, Laurie Markkinen or somebody like that. It just depends on what the Hornets do moving forward. That's where we'll see the value in this trade. From an immediate standpoint, it's like,
yeah. I mean, it just like I said, man. I'm a Terry fan, man. I love the heart he brings us. He's the fourth quarter guy. He's the guy that ain't afraid to put the team on his back in the fourth. You know what I mean? He's done everything the Hornets have asked him to do. Play point guard, play two guard, whatever. He's been that guy, and it's just tough to see somebody like that kind of leave.
Booknight gonna get some minutes, and yeah, he better. He ain't gonna do nothing. I want to go back to this comment Chris said, y'all don't think Miles is gone. Here's the thing.
So.
Miles Bridges he's an unrestricted free agent, but the Hornets are gonna make an offer like other teams. However, the Hornets have Miles Bridges' bird rights, which would not transfer over in unrestricted free agency. And apparently, a lot of teams, that's why teams aren't making any trade packages for Miles Bridges. A lot of people feel like, well, we should try and move Bridges. But a GM who decided he didn't want to be named came out and actually said, well, if you can't get Miles Bridges' bird rights, so there's no point in dealing.
It's worthless. Yeah.
The Hornets have his bird rights, and thus we are the only team that can pay him max, right? We can pay him more than anybody else, and I kind of think that's the Hornets' intent. Now, whether or not Miles Bridges takes a deal, that's up to him. But I do think it's very telling that earlier in the season there was some unsubstantiated report that Miles Bridges didn't want to be a Hornet or wasn't going to be here or something. And Miles Bridges himself challenged that viewpoint publicly on Twitter. I think he wants to be a Hornet, and they'll try and work out a deal.
I agree, man. And we never know what's going on behind the scenes, man. And you never know if this trade had more to do with re-signing Miles Bridges than than we're leading up to. You never know if that was a mitigating factor in doing this deal or not, man. But I am I'm really excited about Brandon Miller when it comes to this trade because I really feel like it's going to free up a lot more. He's going to have more freedom in the offense now that Terry's gone, and that's. If it's one thing I'm really excited about,
he's now the third option. He's now the third option.
Right.
Maybe second option here.
Maybe second option, honestly.
Hell, he might be first option. Now he's got a lot to work on before he's the first option. But boy, he does look good. I do want to talk extensively about him in a minute. But JC, what's up, JC? Says y'all don't think they buy out Lowry? So like we said at the beginning of the show. The Hornets actually publicly have come out and said that there are no plans to buy out Lowry, and it doesn't really help them in any sense.
It's not advantageous to them at all.
If they needed the roster spot, then yeah, but they don't. So it's better for them to try and there are teams that do want Kyle Lowry. They may be willing to part with some asset, even if it's like you know, I'll take a future second round for Kyle Lowry. You know, I mean,
Man, look, I'll take whatever they can get because the thing is, it's not about the player. And not to be repetitive, it's damn sure ain't about this season. You understand what I'm saying?
right? Yeah.
It's about collecting whatever assets you can collect at this point. And we're talking about a 37-year-old Kyle Lowry. You understand what I'm saying? This ain't
This might be his last season,
man.
Right. He's already won a championship. He's not the same player that he was in his prime, which is why Miami traded him. I tell you, Heat fans are over the moon about this deal. They don't miss Kyle. Remember when we traded Kemba Walker, which we pretty much had to because we weren't going to extend his contract, so we were sad. Even though we were happy to get Terry. We felt at the time that was a good consolation prize. But we were like, damn, Kemba Walker's leaving. Miami Heat are not sad that Kyle. They were like, yes, we get Terry Rozier.
Like they drinking Mai Tais on South Beach tonight, bro.
Yeah,
I get
they hype. So
and for a lot of casuals, I'll go ahead and say it. For a lot of casuals who don't know why the Hornets are making this move, they're kind of panning the Hornets with this move. But again, like we keep saying, man, it's totally not about getting better this season.
It'd be different if the Hornets had a winning record or were close to 500.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a very, very good point. Don't you have to match? And that, yes, you do have to match salary to trade Kyle Lowry. Like we said before, the Knicks are very interested in Kyle Lowry, but they can't get the salaries to match up. So, I could see the Hornets just letting his contract fall off at the end of the season. So, when does Hayward?
Which is a good. That's actually a good segue as to what I was about to say because I can't imagine how hard it is trying to deal Gordon Hayward right now, and I imagine the exact same thing about Kyle Lowry. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Albeit for two different reasons. Now, granted, injuries aside, somebody could really use Gordon Hayward.
Would he even pass a physical?
Again, injuries aside, a somewhat healthy Gordon Hayward who could give you 35 more games this season could help somebody.
Let's say, because right now it's not like the front office isn't talking to Gordon's people like every day.
I'm sure they are.
Right. So what if they're like, tell you what, we'll let your contract run out and we sign you back on a team-friendly deal. You come off the bench and you anchor the young guys. That's a good deal for the Hornets, right?
But would he agree to that?
I think, I think Gordon Hayward realizes that he was never able to reach the heights in his career that he potentially could have due to injury.
No doubt.
That injury he suffered, breaking his leg, like the first game as a Boston Celtic,
he never was the same.
He was never the same. And people forget how good he was in Utah. He had bounce, he was athletic, he could shoot, he could do all those things. He was never quite as good. Right? He knows he's not going to get any more $30 million a year contracts. He likes being in Charlotte. I think his family's here. His kids have grown up here over the last 4 years.
He said it out of his own mouth.
He said it. Yeah, he said it. Like, he really liked being in Charlotte. It wouldn't surprise me if he considered coming back here. Now, that's not to say that like LA won't be like, well, how about we overpay you or whatever. We give you $15 million and you come win a chip with LeBron. Who knows?
And because the Lakers somehow have endless first-round draft picks that I can't explain. What's stopping them from offering the Hornets some more first-round draft picks?
Here's another good point. Yeah. We wouldn't get anything for Gordon Hayward. We didn't get nothing for him. But and here's the thing: trading Terry Rozier helps the Hornets in the long run because it frees up playing time for our guard-heavy rotations, right? Moving Gordon Hayward doesn't even really do that. You're already starting Brandon Miller as it is, and our front court is where we lack depth.
I was going to say, man, like if we were actually trying to win to make the playoffs this year, we actually still very much need Gordon Hayward because we don't have any depth at the three right now. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, and what makes me wonder Because I'm almost 99% sure there is a next move coming. And I kind of feel like it's coming really soon, within the next week or so. And I know the candidate that everybody's looking for is Hayward, but I'm wondering what's going to happen with Book Knight, because there's obviously no future here with Book Knight.
And
You
you know who
understand what I'm
else's
saying?
name is getting thrown around? Nick Richards. A lot of teams are interested in Nick Richards,
which would make zero sense to me whatsoever. And I'm going to tell you why Nick Richards doesn't make a lot of sense.
Go ahead.
I know you. Well, okay. Depending on what we get back, Nathan Mensah should not be on the floor. Mark Williams has a back injury that may be very serious. You don't have any depth at center.
Yeah, but if you're punting for the season, if the season's a lost cause, doesn't matter. Because, okay, so, I mean, here's the thing. You sign PJ to a new deal, so he got to get his playing time anyway. I know, and we don't like seeing him at the 5, but I don't think Mark Williams is, and people are going to get their pitchforks. I don't think Mark Williams is our future at starting center because of that back injury. I've been watching the NBA 40 years since I was a little ass kid. Never has anyone had a long career with a back injury.
Back injury, yeah.
Never, not even a minor back injury. It's just never happened. So if you move Nick Richards and then you move Mark Williams to or let him compete for that starting role, see how his health holds up,
right?
And then you try and acquire a quality center through free agency or the draft. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at that move at this point. We do need a center, but it's like the season's a wash anyway. Why not tank to get a high lottery pick and then possibly trade that for DeAndre Ayton or somebody, Vucevic, Sabonis, all them dudes I was saying we should have got 2 years ago, but right. Maybe we finally get a chance. Maybe we get Miles Turner. Man, if we get Miles Turner.
I think Indiana likes for that. I don't think Indiana's going to go make a lot of moves right now, man. But I would be interested to see what kind of offers we get for Nick Richards. I don't see much. I mean, we're talking about somebody who drafted late second round, even though his value is a little higher than that. I don't know what we get for Nick.
Do we think the Hornets will keep Miles and keep Melo? Yes.
Yeah,
that's a major selling point. Hey, you get to play with your homie, and it wouldn't surprise me if when they were doing negotiations with LaMelo, although what was there really to negotiate? It's like, do you want all the money or not all the money? I want all the money. Okay, sign this. That was it, because the Hornets were the only team that could pay LaMelo all the money. Right. But I'm sure they were like, hey man, we're gonna keep Miles Bridges around despite all this. And
we know what all this was.
Yeah. Right, and we're gonna try and keep him after that. And they talk. Miles and Melo talk.
Right.
Hey Miles, what you gonna do, man? I think I might sign, man. You know what I'm saying? They homies. They
absolutely.
So I think they stick around. I do want to address another point. Dwight Allen makes a good point. I don't see us overpaying for free agency anymore after Hayward. Build through the draft like OKC. 100% agree. But Miles Bridges is the exception. Now, he is a free agent, but I think the Hornets will overpay to keep him, and they should, because that is exactly what building through the draft is. You have to keep your best players, because at some point, like the Warriors found out with Monte Ellis, you can't keep everybody, right?
Can't keep everybody,
right? Can't keep everybody. Right.
It's impossible.
You draft a bunch of good players, somebody's got to go. And the Golden State Warriors said, well, our 3 best guys are Steph, Draymond, and Clay, and they built around that core almost to their detriment. So I think the Hornets should do the same thing.
The Toronto Raptors couldn't keep Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter together. So there you go.
If we moved Miles, what do you think we get? Like I said, I don't think they would trade him. No team wants him, because a trade, he would lose his bird rights, which is important to a team, because the bird rights would allow you to sign him, to go over the cap to sign him. The Hornets are the only team that can do that. So,
to answer that question, if I'm Jamal Kupchak, it's going to be one of two things for me, man. I'm going to get a haul for Miles Bridges. Like you're not gonna sit here and offer me
Oh no,
some
yeah,
some
yeah.
random bench guy or some late first round pick. No, sir.
Yeah,
No.
especially considering the PR hit that the Hornets continue to take every
Right.
game they play. When Miles Bridges touches the ball, teams boo, and people are, if you go into other teams' game threads, they talk about Miles Bridges. He needs to be in prison. I can't believe the Hornets let him play.
Right.
You taking that PR hit? Nah, you got to come up off something massive to get Miles Bridges.
For me, he would have to be a part of a deal that brings me an all-star caliber player, or we're gonna have to talk about lottery picks or multiple first-round picks. It would have to be something to that.
And you know what? I think if you're Miles Bridges and the Hornets can pay you and will pay you more than any other team, I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't take that, considering your career is on a tightrope for the rest of the time that you play.
No doubt.
I mean,
absolutely.
You're going to be on the shortest leash anywhere you go. The Hornets stood behind you, stuck beside you during all this, and they could pay you the most money.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Okay, all right. All right, Swagner, boy, why you come on our podcast and choose violence with the comment?
That's why he's our dog.
And I actually echo this sentiment. I talked to Jonathan, to JG yesterday, and I was saying the same thing. So if you're building through the draft, I'm not so sure I want Mitch to go unless it's an understudy of his. Confidence is shaky with a new GM. 100% agree.
Boy.
Do you really think that Mitch Kupchak would get a first round pick 4 years from now without the intent to see that pick through?
Swagner, let me tell you something, man. You got some guts, and here's what I mean by that. I'm so glad somebody had the damn balls to say that. Let me be 100% clear. I'm so glad somebody had the balls to come out and say, you know what? Maybe Mitch shouldn't go. It's something that I've been thinking about that I didn't even want to say. So appreciate that.
I mean. You got to take the bad with the good with Mitch, right?
Right. But because that's every GM. Like
exactly. That's every GM, and it's under a microscope for us because he's our GM, right?
Right.
I've always maintained Mitch did what Michael Jordan paid him to do. Come here, build me a good core, and if you took injuries out of the equation, are you really going to tell me that on paper, LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Mark Williams, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and Brandon Miller, that's not a good team? Right. Of course, that's a good team. So,
like we talked about on our previous show, man. Like on paper, if you look at Mitch's let's call it a win-loss record, and I'm not talking about the team record.
The actual, right? Yeah,
you're right. I'm talking about if you look at his GM win-loss record, it's more wins than his losses.
Right.
Man.
I mean, he's had some missteps, and you could even say that dealing away Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was a misstep. Although people will forget,
but yeah,
that Devontae Graham averaged as many points a game in his second season as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did. So that trade looked really good, right? Because people forget we got Devontae Graham out of that trade as well. So
and not to mention, man, like sometimes I say about the Hornets a lot, man, because the easy thing to do when talking about the Charlotte Hornets is just blame the front office and blame Michael Jordan per usual, okay? But when you have Kai Jones losing his damn mind on Instagram, and you got Dennis Bouknight eating Funyuns drunk in the damn parking deck, that's not something the GM can foresee.
Right, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? That's not something Mitch Kupchak could have guessed would have happened.
The Hornets are number 2 in the league in most games missed due to injury this season with 170. This was before the Minnesota game last night, and that's not including Miles Bridges' 10-game suspension earlier this season. 170 games. The only team with more is the Memphis Grizzlies. How was that Mitch's fault?
It's not, man. Again, we talk about all these unforeseen circumstances that Mitch has had to deal with the last 3 to 4 seasons, man. Like that's why I'm just never gonna be.
Mitch ain't perfect.
No, of course not.
What if he kept him on as a special advisor?
which is probably which probably suits him a little better at this stage in his career.
I do want to remind everyone, I'm gonna look in the camera when I say this, everyone, that y'all hated Mitch because he didn't pick Scoop. Y'all hated that man. Y'all was gonna go to his house and fight him. Y'all booed. Brandon Miller didn't even get the hat from the commissioner yet, and y'all booed this man.
They didn't even get to Brandon Miller's last name before they start booing that man.
Nick Kupchak has proven to everyone why he is a GM of a professional National Basketball Association franchise, because he knows more about basketball than we do, apparently, because damn it, Brandon Miller is really good, right? Like,
man, I'll keep it very simple, man. Compare the Mitch Kupchak era to the Dan Rich Cho era. My goodness, man, how can you not see the difference?
Well, a lot of people say, well, they had 2 playoff teams.
You know why they had 2 playoff teams? Because they made emergency overpay free agent signings. That's why they went to the playoffs.
Yeah, the Jeremy Lin signing was good, but I wish he had stayed here. Actually,
it was a temporary fix, and I know a lot of Hornets fans are not going to believe it when I say this, but the Hornets are more set up for sustained success a lot more than they were in the Rich Toe era. They really are.
I think, and plus, Mitch is old. I mean, he about 400,000 years old, right? So, I mean, he's old. So, you're right. The stresses of being a GM, he may just say, you know what, I've done what I came here to do. I've given you the pieces, and then I'll just stay on and advise a new GM on how to build around that. I think that would be a good compromise. Plus, if you're the new owners, you got to make sure you can't be worse than Michael Jordan. That is that's your goal. That's the new owner's goal. And if you fire Mitch, okay, let's say he doesn't leave of his own volition, you fire him, whoever you put to replace him better be
good.
He better be Jerry West in this bitch. He better be good. Because if he's not,
because those new owners are gonna get David Tepper treatment if it don't work out, man. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he says it was Jordan who picked B. Millie.
Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, man. I'm so glad we don't have to have those arguments anymore.
Boy, we'll save that for the Panthers. Bryce Young versus CJ Stroud.
Right.
We got the right one this time. I'm not saying Bryce won the right one, but Brandon Miller.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Brandon Miller, because we got to talk about last night. And actually, since the last time y'all saw us, the Hornets have won twice. They're like 2-2 in their last 4, which is absurd. They beat the Spurs, which was like Wemby wasn't playing, so it was like, Wembyana. Okay, Wemby wasn't playing. Then they lose to the Heat because, it's Miami. Right. But I was sure they were. In fact, me and Jamal talked about going on the air after the game, and I was like, let's see how I feel after watching these mugs get beat by 4.
You know what's funny? And we joked around. Well, we joked, and we said, man, watch Anthony Edwards score like 50 on us. Oh, no, that didn't happen.
So Anthony Edwards actually
62 from the other guy.
Anthony Edwards was a game time decision. He was initially a scratch for not feeling well, but I think he was wanting to see if LaMelo Ball played, because LaMelo Ball was questionable coming into the game due to ankle soreness. By the way, I'm tired of LaMelo Ball's ankles. I just want to put that out there. I'm tired of them. Okay. But I think right. But once LaMelo Ball was shown as active, then Anthony Edwards went active. I think they both get up for that matchup, and I'm glad to see that. But Anthony Edwards, to his credit, to be fair, he clearly did not look 100%.
Yeah, he didn't look like himself. He didn't.
But you know what? He was out there.
Too bad. Too bad. Because we don't get that benefit of the doubt. Nope. So whatever. Too bad.
He was out there. So to watch the slow collapse of the Minnesota Timberwolves,
it was beautiful.
Boy,
it was beautiful.
It was wonderful. Watching.
Okay, hot take question of the night, man. What was more enjoyable, this win or the Celtics win? Okay, for me, I'm gonna say Celtics because I hate them so much and I hate their fans so much.
I'll say Timberwolves only because of the 62 points from Karl Anthony Towns.
Right. what they
Like,
overcame, right?
Yeah, they overcame that, and it was on the road, and it was a historic, because I think that Celtics game was at home, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
it was.
So you're on the
Well,
road
at
against
home,
right
yeah.
at home. Yeah, you're on the road against one of the best teams in the league, and one of their marquee players is having the best night in the history of the franchise.
Right.
Not just a career high for him, but the greatest Minnesota Timberwolves performance ever. And you won.
And you
won in style too. So, and you won after being down 18 points at one point.
And you won because, guess what, guys? Because your coach made adjustments. Let me repeat that. The Hornets won because, Steve Clifford, you heard it here, made adjustments.
Hey, why LaMelo Ball wasn't out there? Because he can't play no defense.
Because he can't play no damn defense, and your coach had the balls to put Leaky Black, who ain't played nothing but 50 total minutes in his career out there, who made a good defensive effort out there. Now, Minnesota Timberwolves fans are going to cry, oh, Anthony Towns got fouled on that last play. I don't give a damn. LaMelo Ball's getting fouled the entire fourth quarter. So
he got
as far as I'm
fouled
concerned,
the very play before. Clear foul. LaMelo should have shot 2 free throws, and it should have been a 5-point game at that point. And then it wouldn't have mattered if Karl Anthony Towns got fouled or not on the other end.
Right.
The refs missed it. To be fair, it was in real time. It was kind of a sneaky thing from the wrong angle. You might not have seen Alexander's hand go under LaMelo's arm and foul him, but that's what happened. But I think when the refs noticed that, they gave us a makeup call, because refs do that. They say they don't. They do that. And I feel like the right team won anyway.
Look, let me go. I want to talk more about that, man, because in the first half, man, like, you cannot make Karl Anthony Towns or a player like Karl Anthony Towns comfortable. And what I saw in the first half, if you go back and look at the highlights, and let me know how many times Karl Anthony Towns was wide open.
Wide open, right?
Like, the Timberwolves are running this high not pick and roll, but pick and pop, where Anthony Towns was coming right on the 3-point line. He was wide. Look, he hit 9 3-pointers, and 7 of them he was wide open. You understand what I'm saying?
PJ had a tough assignment because the Timberwolves kept getting him into, even though Gobert was his assignment,
right,
they kept getting him into action to where, because Gobert's not their primary scorer, right?
Well,
and
look,
I think they felt like PJ was too slow, and like Miles Bridges isn't his strongest cat, but he's fast enough to where he can run him off the 3-point line.
Right,
he couldn't do that.
Right. But see, that's the adjustment they made in the second half, because if you look at the first half, PJ and Miles were getting caught in those switches like every single time, man. And Karl Anthony Towns, again, was just wide open on that 3-point line. Now, if you notice, they just started switching more. They weren't trying to communicate, not switch, but they were just kind of I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. They were switching, and they were switching effectively. They weren't trying to communicate and say, no, you go here, you go there. They just switched it. You understand what I'm saying? And that worked out so much better in the second half, man, because Karl Anthony Towns was scoring 2 points in the fourth quarter. Now, you could argue that was fatigue. I'm not. I'm going to give my boys props for playing good defense, man.
They had made the decision, okay, we're not going to give him any easy points.
Yeah.
And I think Karl Anthony Towns knew he was too tired to start shooting from 3 again. And so that's when he's like, okay, I'm bigger, stronger. I'm going to bully ball my way to the basket. And the Hornets were like, nah. Okay, but you can do it, but you're going to have to pay the price for it. Yeah. And I mean, that last play, it was like 8 Hornets.
Yeah.
Right. It was people coming out
of the off the bench coming to guard. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I saw Steve Clifford out there on the block. So, I mean, and the Hornets, they started playing smart basketball in the fourth quarter, and it's like, I really hope in the film room session there's like an emphasis on, hey, look what happened when we play defense and took smart shots. Like,
look at what happens when we play team defense, when we help each other.
We didn't have a center.
We didn't have a center.
The Timberwolves had the best front court in the league. Right. Former Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. And when it counted, our front court was able to defend enough to win the game.
And not even that, man, but I'll even give LaMelo props, man, because you'll notice a couple of times, man, he was kind of, when Karl Anthony Towns would put the ball down on the ground, LaMelo will be right there, man. He actually got a couple of steals off of
real good defensive play,
man. Yep. So even the guards was getting involved in the defensive end.
But I want to talk about the player of the game. He didn't have the most points, but his points were the most impactful. B. Millie. Brandon Miller. So
get that guy more shots.
There is an advanced stat called true shooting percentage. And the point of this stat is to account for free throws in addition to your normal. And it's a long formula. It's like number of free throw attempts or field goal percentage divided by 100 times 2 over number of free throw attempts plus 0.44, because the formula accounts for the fact that a free throw is only worth 1 point. Okay, it's a big long formula.
This is such a Kaiser stat. Yeah.
So true shooting percentage. Now, Joel Embiid, who had 70 points and 18 rebounds last night, had a true shooting percentage of 68%. You know what Brandon Miller's was?
90-something, right?
97.3. Now, somebody in the Hornets group who may or may not look like a skeleton told me that Brandon Miller, this is what he said. He said Brandon Miller was not even one of the best 5 rookies in the league. He said that. Boy. And then he said Brandon Miller is not even one of the – he said he has one of the worst efficiency or one of the least efficient rookies in the – that's what he said. That's what he said.
That's what he told you, right?
That's what he told me. And then Brandon Miller goes out and gets a 97.3% true shooting percentage.
I'm not good at math, man, but that's pretty good efficiency, right?
That's fairly efficient. That's pretty efficient. We don't win that game last night if Brandon Miller don't. First of all, as well as he shot from 3, his mid-range performance, which has been really good in the last stretch of maybe 7 or 8 games, has been incredible. And that's actually what he was known for in high school. Just Alabama's offense really didn't call for a mid-range because no one shoots a mid-range shot, anymore. He's brought that back. Once he gets moves, he's got to work on his handles. He's got to be able to have moves to find his spots on the floor.
It's over, man. I'm telling you, dude. And I think that will come with strength when he gets his grown man body. You heard that term before,
right?
When he gets to that weight room, man, and like you said, he can get to his spots not only just off dribble moves, but off of his strength alone. Man, sky's the limit for that dude, man. Like we should all be very excited about Brandon Miller, man.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the most upside we've seen from a rookie since LaMelo Ball. Maybe even, and fans are gonna hate this, but maybe even more than LaMelo Ball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the impact that Brandon Miller is having on these games is very, very evident. It's not just stat padding, and I can't wait for him to take that next step. So
yeah, and then on top of that, man, not to go backwards, but with a guy like Terry Rozier out the door now you have a chance. Maybe not immediately, but I'm talking about more so in the future, where Brandon Miller becomes that leader because he has that edge. He's got the dog in him. He's got that we ain't losing tonight kind of thing going on with him. You understand what I'm saying? And I think in a couple of years when he gets a little more comfortable in his skin, man, he's gonna be that guy for us, man.
Yep. You know who else is gonna be that guy for us? Nick Smith Jr.
The guy who was already the guy for us.
Nick Smith Jr. I think is going to be okay. If Nick Smith Jr. By the way, at one point, Nick Smith Jr. was the top high school prospect before he went to college. He was and he was maybe a top 5 player in the country. It's amazing that he slid all the way down to where he slid, and the Hornets were able to pick him up. And
what did a certain somebody tell you on draft night, Kaiser? You remember that? You remember
I remember that.
Yep. Kind of right sometimes, man.
Yeah, you're right about James Bouknight too on draft night, and you're a Huskies fan. You tried to tell us.
I kind of watch college basketball. I kind of know what I'm talking about.
Just a little bit, yeah. Yeah, Nick Smith Jr. looked real good. He hit the game. Really ended up being the game-winning shot in hockey. They would have called that the game-winning goal because the Hornets did not trail at any point after he hit that three-pointer. Was putting them up by one. And, that's such a big shot for a rookie to not just make it, but to take it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, you got to hit this three, dude. You wide open. And if you hit this, we're in the lead. And he laced it up like it was no problem, so.
No, and that's a very encouraging assignment. Not only just the talent, but the mentality, man. And I think all Hornets fans, we are looking for a culture shift. You know what I mean? Right. I think we're all wanting that. We're all needing that as fans. And I'm, knock on wood, man. But I'm looking forward to the culture of the young guys we do have becoming competitive. Nick Smith Jr. not only is we don't just love him on the court, but we love his attitude. Like Steve Clifford raves about his work ethic. He raves about that competitive edge he has. So to have two rookies like that now, that's a great sign for the future, man.
All right. Before we talk about that other team, because that other team, they're not going to let the Charlotte Hornets overshadow them.
You know these two teams compete for headlines, man. Yeah. You know that, man.
Before the next time you guys see us, the Hornets will have played the Detroit Pistons, which they play tomorrow, the Houston Rockets, and the Utah Jazz. Now,
I don't know what you're gonna say.
We have to beat the Pistons.
Yeah, if y'all don't beat the damn Pistons,
cannot.
Don't lose to the damn Pistons.
You cannot beat the Minnesota Timberwolves in Minnesota,
and then lay an egg against the Pistons.
Lose to the team that is closest to breaking the most dubious record in the NBA that you currently hold. The Pistons currently are on pace to break the Hornets record for worst winning percentage in NBA history in the season. So you gotta add to that. You can't. Now I know they lost Terry, but
yeah. And look, man, not to be Captain Negative, man, but what a lot of people don't really realize about the Pistons, their record is awful, obviously, but they actually play a lot of teams close, man. They barely lost to Milwaukee the other night. Like they actually play very hard.
They play very spirited basketball.
Yeah,
they might have all the pieces, but whether it's coaching or scheme or whatever, it just doesn't all just come together for them. Kay Cunningham is really good. In fact, he outplayed LaMelo the last time they faced each other. The Pistons will not be an easy out for the Charlotte Hornets, especially without Terry there. And especially if they move Nick Smith Jr. into the starting position, which you might as well, right? If Cody Martin's not ready to go, if Cody Martin is available, he'll start. I'm just telling y'all fans, y'all just get ready for that. Cody Martin will start over Nick Smith Jr. Okay, just letting y'all know.
Yep, because the pitchforks are coming out. Yep.
So I'm gonna be optimistic here. I think Hornets beat Detroit and Houston, and before losing to Utah. They're gonna lose. They're gonna go 2-1 because this is the point of the season. This happens every season. Remember we talked about the 10-game losing streak. That's happening. Right. Now comes the point of the season where
when they start winning games, you don't think they're going to win. Right. And you start asking yourself, where the hell has this been all season? It's the same.
Every year.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This is when that starts.
Yep. We're here now. I'm with you. I'll make a specific prediction here. I'm going to pick us to beat the Pistons in a close game. I think the Pistons keep it close, but I think we'll come out of that one. I'm predicting we lose to the Rockets, and I think Utah is a game that we ain't supposed to win. But let me ask you, wait, rewind. Are we playing Utah in Utah? Because I'm not looking at the schedule.
No, that's a home game.
Okay. We win that one at home, because if that was in Utah, I damn sure wouldn't pick us to win in Utah, because we never do that. So, yeah, I'm going to pick us to lose to the Rockets and mess around and beat Utah at home.
The last thing I'll say about the Hornets is, what better time to try and get Steph Curry?
There you go.
Steph Curry, like 35.
The time is now.
Come on, bro. Come on home.
Come on home.
Come on home. All right, we'll take you.
Man, this
I mean,
city,
the Warriors dynasty is over, right? It's
done.
over. All right, it's finally over. You know, they won a championship.
Look, nobody wants to come out and say it. They're done.
It's over, right? Yep. So they're gonna start. I don't know if Steph's gonna get and he has said he would love to play in Charlotte one day. Not he didn't say it like seriously, like one day I'm gonna play in Charlotte, but he was kind of like, it'd be cool, to play in a place where he grew up, right?
Right.
No better time than the present, bro.
No better time.
Come on home. Okay.
All right.
So, Carolina Panthers, the Carolina Nicole Teppers made a move Monday.
Oh man.
They ended their GM search. They promoted assistant GM and former Panther linebacker Dan Morgan to the GM role. Apparently, during that interview, the present people was David Tepper, Nicole Tepper, and Jim Caldwell.
Why is Nicole okay?
Okay, we know Nicole. We know why Nicole there. She owned the team. She owned the team. Maybe we're too hard on David. Yeah. Maybe his wife's like, look, Dave. I like Dan Morgan.
Hey, wait. Time out.
My question: why Jim Caldwell there?
Why was Jim Caldwell? Wait, time out.
He done shit all season.
No. Where the hell was the search firm? Hey, wasn't there like a firm?
That was with a coach.
Okay.
That was
not the GM.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
They hired firm for the coach. So, boy, this doesn't move the needle at all for me.
Did we expect it to? Come on. Did we expect it? Really?
Now, and my thing is, so Dan Morgan has been assistant GM, if there was ever such a thing, of the Carolina Panthers for the last 3 seasons. And it ain't really been good, right? Yeah. So I got to think, is this going to be more of the same?
Okay. Let me offer my optimism. I can't believe I'm saying this, but let me offer some hope here, all right? Now, a lot of people don't know Dan Morgan has actually been an assistant GM for some other teams as well. Some other teams
very good teams
actually had some success. And here's the thing, man. Here's where I kind of hold out hope in a weird way. Who's to say Dan Morgan and Fitterer agreed all the time? Because the reports show that they butted heads a lot during last season, which may be a good sign. You understand what I'm saying? I will say this, and this is me being optimistic because I don't, it's not like I hang out with Dan Morgan or anything like that. I trust Dan Morgan to be more of a football guy than the Panthers have had in their organization in a long time. Right, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They haven't had football guys in there since Hurney and Richardson. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So at the very least, we know a guy who did it on a high level. You know what I mean? He was one of our best, injuries aside. So we know he's a football guy. And hopefully he doesn't think with the same brain as Scott Fitterer does, which may be an encouraging sign. And listen, and what here's another thing I was thinking about too. I don't know whether it probably wasn't even an option for Tepper to make a big splash, because who wants this job? Let's just call a spade, right? It's not always the worst thing to not make a splash. Sometimes it's okay to get the homegrown guy who's been around, who's seen all of your missteps. You understand what I'm saying? Who may not back down to you, who may be comfortable with having those tough conversations with you. So it may not be the worst thing in the world. With all that being said, man, I'm kind of looking at it with an open mind. I'm going to be optimistic until they give me another reason to not be optimistic.
Yeah, I'm wait and see with Dan Morgan. Right. He was an assistant GM, started off as director of football personnel at Seattle, during the Legion of Boom from 2010 to 2017, I think.
Not bad.
So that's not too bad, right?
Not bad.
He's got a Super Bowl ring, as as an assistant GM, and then he went to Buffalo and started their build, where we've seen where they are today.
Yeah, what we call them Carolina Panthers South. Carolina he started that.
Yeah, North.
Yeah, I mean North. I'm sorry, Carolina Panthers North. Yeah.
So obviously he's got a little bit of, he knows his way around the front office of a team. And like you said before, I get the idea that he might have butted heads with Scott Fitterer, and a very important thing happened today. That was maybe more important than him getting promoted to GM. They fired the Vice President of Football Administration, Sumar Solomon. Okay. The reason that's important is because he himself was almost like a GM as well. He handled all of the salary cap machinations and essentially the money that concerned on-field stuff. That was his job.
Right.
Now he's gone. And I don't think they're going to backfill that role, because that is not a position that a lot of teams carry. In fact, from what I was able to find, only 2 other teams carry a president or vice president of football administration, not operations, administration, which means money. He was brought in to be a financial salary cap guru, because the Panthers are in cap hell. They're no longer in cap hell. Dan Morgan's GM. What I need this guy for? Gone. So maybe the Teppers are like, okay, Dan, we're going to give you some free reign here.
Right.
See what you do.
Do what you do. And I wonder, going back to what I said about Terry, could this be addition by subtraction? And here's what I mean by that. The front office, from what we heard, was just filled with too many voices. And look, we got 25 different coaches. We got Nicole Tepper and David Tepper and Scott Fitterer and Dan Morgan and Suleiman and all these voices. And I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to kind of just cut back on some of these people. Let there be 1 or 2 voices. You understand what I'm saying? And we don't really know what's going to happen with this coaching staff going forward. We expect to hear some news very, very soon, probably within the next week, probably. But I hope this is the start of David Tepper not overdoing it, not being so overzealous to go build some all-star staff and all-star whatever, and just have the right guys, 1 or 2 or 3 guys. So we'll see. Absolutely.
The more I think about it, the more, hey, just hire Evero. Just why not? Yeah. My only thing is, why are you not talking to Jim Harbaugh when every other team is? At least put your name in that hat. And what I don't want to happen, I was telling JG this last night, I don't want Evero to be a fall guy.
Right.
I don't want another young black coach to be the fall guy, because the Panthers are not going to be good next season. They're not. They're going to be terrible again, right? They're going to have a good defense. And
Dan Morgan would have to, man, he'd have to do a pretty damn good GM job for the Panthers to be good next season.
Right, yeah. So I don't want there to be like, Vero, and there are going to be people that blame stuff on him anyway, right?
Right.
He's done a great job with the defense, and I think, just leave well enough alone at this point. Give him his shot. You never know. And really, all I want to see from the Panthers next season is like shades of improvement. It don't even have to be actual record improvement. But I have to see some things that are like, okay, that's better than last season.
Can we get a functional offense next season?
Yeah,
not great,
exactly.
Not great, just functional. You know what I mean? Can we just get that next season?
It does make me wonder, however, why he wasn't promoted to interim head coach after they fired Frank Reich.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to hire him as a head coach, then why didn't you just already have him out there on the field? There could be some logistical reason. Maybe they didn't want him to be the defensive coordinator and head coach.
Right.
The special teams coach isn't as important. You can just move anyone else up to special teams, whereas a defensive coordinator would be different. I don't know. 3 wins? I don't know.
Man, look, I at least want them to get 5 or 6. I'm not saying they are. Let me be very clear about that. But Just give me 5 or 6, and I'd be okay.
That's lofty, bro. I don't know.
It is. I didn't say it wasn't. It is.
It depends. The division is still going to be more wide open than we think it is next season. Especially the Tampa Bay Bucks have already said they're gonna back the Brinks truck up for Baker Mayfield, but he is an unrestricted free agent, and there are a lot of teams that are probably like, you know what, we might take another chance on Baker. So who knows what's gonna happen? You
have any predictions as to who our new coach may be? Because I actually, if I had to guess, just based on stuff I've been reading, I think Ben Johnson is the next coach for the Carolina Panthers.
His name is tied to us heavily. Also, Evero, he's been getting other interviews with other teams, and he's on the second round of interviews with the Falcons, actually.
Yeah.
I actually expect him to get a head coaching job elsewhere, and then Ben Johnson come in. With the Panthers, because you do kind of want someone that you feel like can foster Bryce Young's development and is going to be, more prominent on that side of the ball.
Right.
They tried that with Frank Reich. It didn't work, but I think that's just because Frank Reich's methods were too dated.
Yeah. Yeah. You said that a lot kinder than I did, but
yeah.
Agree that.
At least it wasn't college shit. So
right, right. Oh man,
speaking of the NFC South, this is the last thing before we leave. Cam Newton came out and said that he wants to play for the Falcons. So here's the thing: if you're the Falcons, you might call him up for a tryout. Because who else they got? They got Desmond Ridder.
I'm sorry, who else? Who's their backup?
Maybe Danny can tell us.
I don't. Yeah.
I don't know how Danny feels about that. I'd take Cam Newton, or I'd take old Cam Newton over Desmond Ridder. And you got to think, Cam Newton grew up cheering for the Falcons, so
all I know is it would be just regular old Charlotte luck. Cam Newton came back to the Falcons and stuck it to us 2 times.
And won the damn division.
And won the division. Yeah. Yep. That would be such a Charlotte thing.
I would retire from watching sports.
Right.
Forever. So that would be the end of Under Construction. We're done here.
All right, man. It's late and I'm sleepy. Shout outs.
Yeah, I gotta go to work tomorrow. Just shout out to our fans for joining us on another late night show.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
Again, we could not go another night without talking about this stuff, man. So shout out to y'all.
So we're gonna be back on our normal Sunday schedule next week anyway. So who knows what crazy stuff's gonna happen, in the upcoming week. So
real quick, man, shout out. Charlotte actually does have a good basketball team, believe it or not. Shout out to the Charlotte 49ers who are making some noise in their conference, man. Got a big win against FIU last week. Got another big win the other night, man. So shout out to the Charlotte 49ers, man. Keep it up. Hopefully we see them in the tournament, man. That'll be pretty dope to see Charlotte in the NCAA tournament, man. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Shout out to Terry Rozier. Rozier,
no doubt,
a lot of
man.
people forget Terry Rozier had to essentially shake off the ghost of Kemba Walker, and he did so. I mean, he really did. And he was really – this is going to pain a lot of people to hear this. He was just as good as Kemba was in his time here collectively. And he didn't have to backpack the team as much as Kemba, but he really gave all of himself all the time. And I hate to see him go, but I am – and as much as I hate the Miami Heat, I'm glad to see Terry Rozier go to a team where he's going to be successful and they're going to get the most out of him. And if they make the playoffs, fuck it, I'll cheer for him.
I ain't never cheering for the Heat.
Come on, man. Kyle Lowry's not on the Heat no more. Actually, I hate Kyle Lowry, but if he wears a Buzz City uniform, you cheering for him? I want everyone to remember. I want everyone to remember that Kyle Lowry is
the reason we didn't make the playoffs.
The reason we didn't make the playoffs two seasons ago. Because he made a clear 2-point shot that the refs counted as a 3. And, of course, he wasn't going to say nothing because he's that kind of dude, right?
Oh man,
He might
shout
be
out to
backing up
Terry.
LaMelo Ball.
That wouldn't be a bad
Do
thing.
you
quite
want Kyle Lowry rubbing off on LaMelo Ball?
All right, y'all. Have a good night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Y'all have a good night. We'll talk to y'all Sunday. Peace.
Peace out, y'all. Guys, and peace, man.